Go away, you useless wife who can't even do simple chores. I sat on the floor feeling small and insulted as my mother-in-law glared at me. We have Mauricio and my mom, we don't need you. You always seem unhappy anyway, you're just a burden. My sister-in-law, who never helps around the house, added with disdain. Wait a minute, Mauricio, your mom and sister are being too mean. Before I could say more, even my husband Mauricio sided against me. My mom and sister are right. I don't need a wife who can't manage household chores while working. Plus, I have a younger part-time helper who's much better. Pack your things and go. Mauricio's words hit me hard. They all continued criticizing me, calling me a failed wife. I clenched my fists, feeling anger rise inside me. After all they've taken from me, how dare they? Just wait, I'll make sure you all face the consequences, I thought, but I kept my expression neutral as I looked at the three of them. Fine, I'll leave. The downfall of the family that's been dumping everything on me starts now. I'm Eleanor, 32 years old, and a working wife. Many women work after getting married, and I kept my job at the same company I joined after college because I enjoy it. One morning, while I was getting ready for work, Mauricio asked, Eleanor, can you handle this? Tax season is approaching. He handed me a stack of receipts and invoices. Again, you should manage your own shop's finances, Mauricio said, avoiding eye contact. You know I'm better at this, so please. I married Mauricio 5 years ago. He used to work as a clerk at a restaurant I frequented, and after dating for a while, we decided to tie the knot. Now Mauricio runs his dream cafe, but he leaves tasks like purchasing and accounting to me. As I left for work, my mother-in-law added, Eleanor, let's have Chinese food tonight. Can you get the ingredients ready? No, you can do it when you return. Also, Vivian and the kids are coming this weekend. Make sure to prepare something they'll like. I reluctantly replied before leaving. When we got married, I wanted to live just with Mauricio, but he insisted we live with his mother because he worried about her living alone. So we moved into his large family home. My mother-in-law isn't good at keeping the house tidy, and it was messy when we moved in. She lives on a pension and mostly eats out because she doesn't like cooking. Mauricio always says that housework is a woman's responsibility, so even though I work, I'm stuck doing all the chores for the whole family. On top of that, my sister-in-law Vivian, who has her own family now, often visits with her kids. When she's around, the workload increases. This morning, when I heard she's coming back this weekend, I thought, oh, not again. And then the dreaded weekend arrives. I'd love to relax on my weekends off from work, but instead, I have to entertain Vivian's kids and prepare meals. While I'm busy, Vivian drops a bombshell on me. Eleanor, by the way, I'm getting divorced and moving back here with the kids next month. Just thought you should know. What? Are you serious? Do you have a problem with that? No, I understand it's tough for you. When are you moving back? As soon as possible. My sister-in-law is coming home with the kids. I'm initially surprised, but then I reconsider. Vivian used to be a homemaker, so she'll probably help around the house. That should ease my workload a bit. Although we're not particularly close, I'm looking forward to having less work and going about my days. But my optimism quickly fades away. Vivian, much like her mother, contributes nothing. She spends her days lounging around, watching TV, and snacking. She doesn't work, nor does she help with household chores. It turns out her neglect of domestic responsibilities was a significant factor in her divorce. Now, I'm left to do all the chores, including catering to her fussy kids and getting them ready for school. As time goes on, my workload at my job increases with a new project that demands more overtime and early starts. The house becomes progressively messier. Coming home to a dirty house is incredibly disheartening, yet everyone continues to ask, "When's dinner?" or "Why are you so slow?" To add to my frustration, I start receiving passive-aggressive comments from Vivian and my mother-in-law. Eleanor, the laundry is piling up. Just because you work doesn't mean you can slack off. They remark, oblivious to my own workload. Whenever I try to defend myself, Vivian interjects, "Talking back to your mother-in-law, you're quite bold, Eleanor. And you've been buying all the meals." That's not good for the kids. If you're home, can't you pitch in a bit? Then Mauricio chimes in, as a business owner, I'm providing for the family. You don't have to work. You're doing it out of selfishness, so fulfill your wifely duties perfectly. I'm left speechless, while they both stare at me as if their expectations are entirely reasonable. That night, I was seething with anger. I decided to confront Mauricio. I'm swamped with work, and neither your mom nor your sister is pitching in with the housework. You're not bad-mouthing my mom and sister, are you? Mauricio shoots me a glare. Surprised, I respond, no, that's not it. But I can't handle all the chores alone. Could you lend a hand? I'm busy running a business. You might not get it because you have an easy office job, but running a business is tough. Plus, isn't housework a wife's responsibility? Don't expect me to do it. Are you serious? Mauricio simply goes to bed, leaving me fuming. But then an idea strikes me. I come up with a plan. That night, before going to sleep, I quickly order some gadgets online. A few days later, a bunch of new appliances arrive. A washer, dryer, a cleaning robot, and kitchen appliances with automatic cooking functions. If no one's going to help me, I might as well make my chores easier with some handy gadgets. As the delivery guys are bringing in the washer, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law show up. You bought a new washer without consulting us. The old one still works, but it's outdated and this will make laundry quicker and simpler. What's all this? A cleaning robot and cooking appliances? Eleanor, come over here. I'm called into the living room where they're seated on the sofa, while I'm asked to sit on the floor. Mauricio is there too, sitting beside his mom, looking smug. What's happening? My mother-in-law shouts. What do you mean, what's happening? You've spent all our money on these lazy gadgets. What were you thinking? I thought they would help with the housework. Efficiency isn't everything. People rely too much on machines these days. My sister-in-law adds, exactly, Eleanor. And those are luxuries. The appliances we have are perfectly fine. You're just wasting money because Mauricio owns a business. She shoots me a glare, and Mauricio nods in agreement. But you're just trying to make your life easier. Can't you even handle housework properly? I wanted to retort, look who's talking, but I remained silent. Finally, perhaps frustrated by my lack of response, my mother-in-law snaps, if you can't handle housework, you should just leave. I stare at her in shock. She stares back, unyielding. We don't need you. Mauricio and I are fine without you. You always look tired and miserable. You're just a burden, my sister-in-law says with exasperation. Hold on, Mauricio, your mom and sister are being too harsh. When I turn to Mauricio for support, he looks down at me and says, they're right. I don't need a wife who can't manage housework. I stare at Mauricio in disbelief, but he just smirks. I'm a business owner, and I have the right to spend my money as I please. I don't need a wife who spends it to make her life easier. Why would you say something like that? Besides, I've been getting along well with a young part-time worker. She's cute, unlike you. Pack your bags and leave. Stunned by Mauricio's words, all three of them start berating me, labeling me a failure as a wife. I clench my fists in anger. After all they've taken from me, they have the audacity to say this. Just wait. You'll regret this. But I maintain my composure and say, fine, I'll leave. Good. We'll be better off without you, my mother-in-law spits out. I rose silently and placed something on the table. Mauricio, let's get divorced, I said, sliding over a pre-filled divorce application. I had obtained it as a symbol of my exhaustion, tired of everything. Fine. I'll sign it. Don't regret it later, Mauricio responded, signing the papers. I packed my bags and left for a weekly apartment the same day. No one came to bid me farewell. I submitted the divorce papers to the city hall and rented a condo. At the same time, I accepted a promotion I had previously declined due to household responsibilities and became a department head. Finally able to focus on my career, which I had almost abandoned, I threw myself into my work with renewed determination. Delighted to be free from any hindrance, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief about a week after leaving. My former mother-in-law began calling after a year, but I was too occupied to entertain someone who had once deemed me worthless. I chose to ignore her calls. A year later, on a day off, she called again. Feeling it was time to address matters, I answered hesitantly, "Hello." "Ah, Eleanor, you finally answered. How could you ignore me for over a year? What do you want?" "Well, how have you been? Are you okay?" I responded bluntly to her probing. "I'm doing great, working hard in my own place. I've been promoted and my salary has increased. I'm living comfortably. Is that so? Would you consider returning?" Her tone held a hint of pleading, and I asked, cautiously, "Why now?" "We're in trouble." "We're running out of money," she confessed. I couldn't help but smirk as I replied, "So Mauricio's cafe isn't even making $11,000 profit, huh? And neither you nor your daughter have jobs. Well, that explains it. Eleanor, did you know?" Of course I knew. Mauricio's cafe was barely making $800 a month in profit. Since I handled the finances, I was well aware. Mauricio, who acted like a big-shot business owner but neglected proper management and customer service, probably had no clue, but I did. I was the one handling all the accounting and inventory. "Why didn't you say something?" "I had no idea you were managing a big company and contributing so much to our living expenses." Yes, I was putting in over $3,000 a month. That's how everyone was able to live. I had been supplementing the family income with my own salary because I knew Mauricio's shop wasn't making much. He probably realized he couldn't make ends meet without my income only after I left. "Please, Eleanor, come back. By the way, what happened to Mauricio's shop?" Ignoring my former mother-in-law's plea, I informed her Mauricio's shop is going under next month. Even the part-time girl left him. That makes sense. With such sloppy management, he can't keep a business running, and he's too proud to do what needs to be done. No woman would want to be with a man like that. I chuckled, leaving my former mother-in-law speechless. "Can we wrap this up?" "I'm busy," I interjected. She hurriedly continued, "Also, the house has been a mess since you left." A mess? According to her, the house was in chaos because no one was doing any housework. It was cluttered, no one was cooking, so they had to buy food, and they couldn't even afford a new washing machine. "It would have been nice if you left those appliances," she remarked. "What do you mean? Those lazy appliances? And what's wrong with taking things that I pay for?" I shouldn't have said that, but I never expected the house to deteriorate like this just because no one was doing the chores. Isn't it strange that 3 adults can't manage the housework? I questioned, growing irritated. "What are your daughter and Mauricio doing?" She lowered her voice. "Well, Mauricio has been sulking at home all day, doing nothing since he found out his shop isn't making any money." "Really?" "He said he could do whatever he wanted with his money because he's a business owner. And Vivian refuses to work no matter how much I tell her. She doesn't do housework, and she even asks me for pocket money for herself and her kids." My pension is running out. "Really? Your daughter told me she didn't need me because she had you," I retorted icily. My former mother-in-law attempted to sway me once more. "Please, Eleanor, my pension isn't enough for the 3 of us anymore. I have no intention of returning to that house. Your children are quite dependent, aren't they?" She fell silent. Just as I was about to end the call, she persisted. "Eleanor, we'll change. Please come back. Let's all live happily together again." "Sure, happily with a worthless wife." I cut her off. She stumbled over her words but continued to plead. "I apologize for what I said. We're family. Help us. We can't even afford the property taxes anymore. We'll have to sell the house. I'm neither obligated nor inclined to assist you. Sort it out yourselves. Goodbye from your worthless wife," I said, disregarding her cries as I ended the call and blocked her number, savoring my coffee in my tidy apartment. I chuckled to myself. 3 months later, I happened to stroll past Mauricio's cafe. To my surprise, it had transformed into an empty storefront. It appeared that he had indeed closed down for good. Their family home was also listed as sold. When I bumped into a former neighbor, they informed me that the 3 of them had sold the house and relocated, now residing in a cramped nearby apartment. They had become a constant nuisance in the neighborhood, often arguing and causing disturbances. Complaints were stacking up against them. It was disappointing to see that despite the opportunity to work hard and take care of their home independently, they hadn't, which was typical of them. I regarded their former residence with a sense of detachment and continued on my way. Since then, I've been fully immersed in my work. Recently, a sincere and hardworking colleague confessed his feelings for me, expressing admiration for my dedication to my job. We started dating with the intention of marriage. I believe my next marriage isn't too far off, and this time I'm eagerly anticipating embracing happiness.